Howdy Earthlings! Today I was reminded that Zootopia exists and it has a sequel coming out. As a YouTube who's partnered, it's in my contract that I'm supposed to share my opinions even though they aren't wanted. So I'm telling you why, as I, a furry, don't like Zootopia. This is going to get political, and I'll likely be ignoring most of the comments, because I feel like this is not going to have good comments once it leaves furry circles. But if you don't like it, don't watch it. I'm not forcing you to be here. You click the thumbnail. Although I feel like with what I have to say, being as late as it is now, a whole decade later, it's probably an opinion that isn't really controversial. There are plenty of reasons to dislike Zootopia, and I think that the furries that do like it are choosing to ignore the issues with it, or are trying to separate the art from the statement it makes, even though art is its statement. One obvious reason to dislike Zootopia is that they're owned by the Disney Corporation, who is simultaneously trying to make money off of queer people by pandering to them with the promise of minor characters in the background doing gay kisses. But when it comes time to make money off of other territories or other audiences overseas, they'll remove that scene to make a few extra dollars, because they love gay people so much that they're just willing to, appeal so heavily to us and then remove it at the last second. They're also dedicated to mass producing slop, and they can do that since they own the majority of the US media everything, because what else are you gonna watch? They own everything else you enjoy too. Disney wants to be able to, year after year, abuse Americans' inflated sense of nostalgia to make money while doing little effort to make anything new that is of quality. Wave a couple superheroes or Jedi in our face and we'll all forget about the new failing stuff. Also, I have a personal disdain for Disney because of their abuse of the legal system with lobbying and changing public domain laws so that Mickey Mouse could make a little bit more money without competition for a couple more decades. I really don't like any company that lobbies, but I should be disliking the politicians that are so easily bought even more. Zootopia as a furry also feels like pandering. It's not news that the majority of millennial furries became furries because of Disney's animated movies, in particular, Robin Hood. It's been a long time since anything furry enough came out, so they gave us Zootopia. While Zootopia itself, as a concept, is good, it talks about the social disparity between the favored class, the prey species, and the marginalized class, the predator species. This would also be a good opportunity to talk about the dynamics of a police officer and criminal relations, as well as the racial disparities from those two very different worlds, but instead they absolutely bungled it. Sure, it'd be hard to break down that not all cops can be trusted to kids, and in an ideal world, we would want our children to be able to trust the cops. To be able to trust both your child to ask the right people for help, and for the alleged right people to be trustworthy 100% of the time. The paragons of our society should be able to be trusted to be that, to be paragons. But absolute power corrupts absolutely, and when you have a union that it will allow you to commit murder and commit crimes without punishment, you have a whole lot of power. At the most, you'll get fired from your current position as a police officer and get hired in some bumpkin town somewhere else where there's way too many police officers being hired already. So cops that are getting fired for some of the worst things ever are just getting rehired in, somewhere else. And even if that fails out, they'll get hired as mall cops or something like that where they'll abuse their power there. You can also appreciate that Zootopia was trying to tackle race issues. But how well does that analogy work? The marginalized class of predator animals pose a genuine threat to the prey classes unless they're the lovable fat guy who can do no harm. Queer people, black people, and other people of color that the predator class represents, those marginalized by the police, pose no actual threat to society at large. Black people are no more violent than white people, queers no more violent than straight, and the poor no more so than the well-paid officers whose funding is ever expanding to a militaristic degree yearly. We of course don't need to elaborate on the comparison of queer and POC to literal animals. The movie tries to put a bow on the issues that we just need to get along with the cops and trust that they know what they're doing and that what they're doing is best for everyone. Meanwhile, my friends get drugs planted on them when the cop realizes that the little mixed guy isn't carrying and needs to justify the unlawful search. We don't need to worry about that long though, as their powers are expanding to include any number of absurd justifications to stop anyone. The poor portrayals are obvious too, and the only reason I can see people ignoring them is intentionally just not caring. Or some more,
"Ooh, I don't like to talk about politics. We should all just get along."
Or their literal children who have yet to come to grips with scenarios like this because they have yet to have been subjected to such instances. People in the fandom ignoring the issues seems to be the most likely, considering how often this fandom mistreats marginalized folks within their own community, or ignores the suffering of fellow furries. It's not really news that the fandom isn't the best when it comes to POC members of the community. It's likely a lack of personal experience with these issues. Maybe you just haven't had the displeasure of walking around a store you've been in a million times with no issue with your mixed friend while a security guard not so discreetly follows you around because they assume the black kid is going to steal. But it's a kid's movie, you might be thinking. I can't seriously expect it to get so serious. I don't expect it to get that serious. I more expect it to not so openly take the cop's side and at least be a little more impartial. I can't expect a kid's movie to tell them that they shouldn't trust cops. Even if ACAB, they're better off asking a cop for help than a stranger who might not be of any help. I've heard some people tell their kids like, hey, go ask the nearest mom, but not all moms are good moms. There are some jobs out there that a cop is the best person for, and kids should be able to trust them with that one thing, protecting them. But even then, protect and serve is a false motto because they're not legally required to protect you. Kids should be able to trust cops. Even if I've never had a good experience with cops myself, many told me that I got what I deserved for being openly queer, or assumed my brother was a liar just because he's trans and trans people are just naturally deceitful, even if 4 other people saw that same break-in. Obviously, the message is bad, but kids need to be able to believe that they can trust authority figures. Maybe a movie like this creates a generation of kids who want to be the good cop. But as we've seen a number of times, you can't change the police force from the inside out. It needs a complete reform, a dismantling, restructuring, and rebuilding. We have the cops doing too many jobs, and the work needs to be diverted to a variety of jobs. They have too much power and too much responsibility for any person to be expected to handle appropriately. I also can't expect Disney to be the one to deliver a message like this appropriately either. Disney requires narratives that are black and white. They need people to believe that the good guys will always show up when you need them and that the bad guys will always get what they deserve. But I think being alive for the past 30 plus years has really shown me how untrue that is. The bad guy always wins if he has enough money, and there's no good guy who shows up just in time to save you. Zootopia's message is half-assed at best and dangerous at the worst. And Zootopia 2 will probably take an even softer stance. But what else are we gonna watch? Thanks for watching. I made this because I made a little post to the community tab and I wanted to elaborate more than a little community post would be good for. If you enjoyed this video, then you should check out some of my other commentary stuff on the end card. But now, it's time to thank the supporters. You can be one too by becoming a patron, member, or by buying merch, or by leaving a super. All of those help, and by joining the Patreon or members, they get your name in the credits like Aspirant Artist, Paper, Faye Penguin, Momentary Unicorn, Aurora the Puppet Moth, Sly, Nat, Marius, Yeenie, Worm Syrup, Rask, Fur, Beeve, Bait, Sly again, Colorado Blue, Linky, Baxter Bunny, TG Dante, Wasoku, Linky again, Spikejack, and Malding Brick. Thanks again for watching. I'm gonna go play some more Switch 2 while I hope and pray that the controllers don't drift.